We have a number of distinguished speakers, and because His Eminence needs to leave the hall shortly, he is going to speak first. I'm going to ask Father Michael Roscoe, Vice Chancellor of the Diocese, to introduce His Eminence. Father Roscoe, please.
Thank you very much, Brother Frank. Over the course of the past 20 months, I'm sure that we have heard the phrase repeatedly that we, as a diocese, are like sheep without a shepherd. Now, while it is true that we have not had a ruling bishop since March of 2011, that statement of being sheep without a shepherd is not entirely accurate. Because from the moment that our beloved Metropolitan Nicholas fell asleep in the Lord, His All Holiness Patriarch Bartholomew placed us under the protection of His Eminence Archbishop Demetrios. Most of us learned a new term during this time, the term locum tenens. And if you look up locum tenens in the dictionary, you find that it's a Latin phrase, and it literally means to hold a place for someone. Now that's a very passive definition. Sounds like you're saving a seat or holding a place in line for someone. That has not been the case with Archbishop Demetrios. He has actively been involved in the life of our diocese over these past 20 months. He has been our spiritual father. We have been His children. And He has shown us the same love, the same concern that He shows all of the many children in His own flock in the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America. We all know the hectic, demanding schedule that He keeps. He's literally all over the world with His schedule, with His travels, and with His archpastoral ministry. But as Father Frank mentioned in his remarks, there was always time for us. There was always time for our little flock. Whenever we needed something, He was there for us. He was especially there for the consistory. Anytime we wanted to meet to discuss our dilemma of not having a successor to Metropolitan Nicholas, he was inviting us to New York to sit down to discuss at great length who that successor might be. And when we finally realized that our search needed to go beyond the parameters of our own diocese, it was His Eminence who recommended to us that we sit down and meet an energetic priest from New Orleans. And we met with him, and we loved him immediately. And he sits here before us as that worthy successor to the Metropolitan, His Grace Bishop Gregory. It is my pleasure, it is my privilege, not only to introduce you, Your Eminence, but as others have done today, to thank you. To thank you for being patient with us, to thank you for your love and concern for us, to thank you not only for being a part of this historic day in our diocese. We thank you for all that you did to make this day possible. I present to all of you His Eminence Archbishop Demetrios.
Your Grace, Bishop Gregory of Nyssa, Your Eminence Metropolitan Anthony, Metropolis, Metropolitan Alexis of Atlanta, Bishop Daniel of Field, Father Chancellor, Father Frank, Father Michael, honorable members of the Consecration and beloved brothers, Metropolitan bishops who are here with us. I'm terribly sorry that, unfortunately, I have to leave. We have to leave. I see here in front of me, you don't see, it's a clock in red letters showing 4:20. And I remember that in England, there is an idiomatic way to ask for the time. Instead of asking, what time is it? They say, how goes the enemy? I have an enemy in front of me, which is time, and I can tell you I would stay and change the plan for tonight if tomorrow we do have a very important meeting on St. Nicholas Church to be rebuilt on Ground Zero, a very important meeting. And then another important meeting with the Archdiocesan Council of the Direct Archdiocesan meeting, and then take a plane flight to New York to participate in a presidential committee on human traffic, which is also called human slavery in the 24th century. So having these things, I could, as you can imagine, couldn't jeopardize. There is a plane tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock. What happens if the airport is not open, or this New York LaGuardia, as happens very often, is not open, so we have to leave anyhow. Time is the enemy. Time is the enemy, but the people are, the beloved people are the joy and the love and the honor and everything wonderful that we have. And to have such a day is an irreplaceable day in our lives. It's something that will stay as a really sign from God, showing God's mercy, God's providence, and God's really wonderful attitude of being a God of surprises. He constantly surprises with doing things we never think. It was never thought 1.5 years ago, on March 13th, when Metropolitan Nicholas passed away, that on November 27th or 14th in the other calendar, we would have an ordination of someone like the former Father Gregory, me, Bishop Gregory of Nyssa. A mysterious, unexpected, surprising ways of God, a God of surprises. And we are here today enjoying these really surprises and really being at a loss of having the proper language to express our thanks. And what a challenge today. Celebrating as church the memory of Apostle Philip and a great saint of the church, St. Gregory Palamas, Archbishop of Thessaloniki. Apostle Philip, the apostle that, as all apostles have, the best language, Gregory Palamas, one of the great theologians of 14th, 15th century, and also the reality of Gregory of Nyssa. Gregory of Nyssa is the person living in the 21st century. Gregory of Nyssa was a person living in the 4th century, 1600 years ago. Just for your information, I would share with you something we said here with the bishop and the one Alexius. Gregory of Nyssa, as a father of the church, has written in the highest, most sophisticated language ever, theologically, in the Greek language. The Greek language, the Greek theological language of Gregory of Nyssa is superb and unsurpassed. His brother, Basil the Great, was another superb handler of language. But Basil writes like a mathematician. I mean, his language is a language of absolute precision. You cannot take a word of it. You cannot change the punctuation point. Gregory of Nyssa, however, is higher linguistically because of the vocabulary is richer, the syntax sometimes is more sophisticated, and the theological depth is really unsurpassed. So here we are in a constellation of an apostle, Philip, a great saint of 14th century theologian, Gregory Palamas, and Gregory of Nyssa, a superb theologian of the 4th century. And we are limited linguistically. We cannot compare with these giants. So our means of expressing today are limited and are very limited, especially when you have to express feelings, thoughts, comments, inspirational ideas related to an ordination. So we simply say, limit ourselves. I remember at this moment a very nice ancient Greek pithy saying, very simple, in the original, I legeti sigis kriton, I sigin eche. You either say something at this moment that is better than silence, or keep silent. So unfortunately I don't have any better than silence. But I could resist the temptation to say something. So I didn't keep with the absolute silence either. And this because of you and because I would like before I need to just express against our thanks. I happen to know the new bishop for years as a student at Holy Cross, before that as a president at the community of Charlotte, North Carolina, but as a student at Holy Cross, he was so immediately known as a very successful and very influential student. We thought of him, Father Triandafilo, the president of the school, myself, of someone who would stay at the school as a dean of students and also as a person responsible there. But the one of Orlando, in a smart way, outsmarted us. And he took it. And so, but I said always, well, this young gentleman and young theologian has a bright future. One day he's going to be at a place that is really the appropriate place for his talents, his virtue, his ability, and his dedication. And God gave us finally something, because back at the school, I have to tell you, I never thought one day that the student I saw there, but a number of times, will become the bishop of Nyssa Patriarchs. Unthinkable. It happened. So we thank God for what happened. We thank God for giving Bishop Gregory to this community. Father Mark earlier spoke about him in the church, and repeat again, he's sitting in the corner. He's a person who likes to disappear, but he's instrumental in doing everything. And he is, on the human side, together with Father Frank and the consistory, the human people responsible of what happened, the human, God's responsibility is a different story. So here we are, and we are today enjoying immensely this event. And as I see in front of me the red digits showing 4:30, and since I had from Father Mark an ultimatum, we have to leave at 4:30. So then Father Mark, I'm stopping here because I cannot do anything else. I simply add my deepest thanks to a beloved brother in the person of Metropolitan Anthony, together with my congratulations for having been elevated from Archbishop of the Ukrainian concentrated here to become now the Metropolitan, to have the joy of one of the youngest bishops in our church, Bishop Daniel of Pamphylia, having a tremendous responsibility of 80 plus parishes in the Midwest, and of course the beloved clergy of this community, of whom Bishop Father Mark Ari and the two deacons know how often I speak in communities and meetings about the Carpatho-Russian diocese. Because Carpatho-Russian diocese is in my heart. It's really in my heart because of what it is, because of what you are, but also because of the connection in the past with a bright and inimitable hierarchical perspective, the late Nicholas of Amisos, and because of the present in the person of the new bright bishop, in the person of Gregory of Nyssa, and because of the future related to politics. Future is something depending on you, not only the bishop, not only the clergy, but all the people. We live Johnstown today with the most deep and wonderful feelings of a bright future of this community, not simply as an Orthodox community in the United States, but as a model community. I'm finishing with one more item, because I mentioned Washington and White House. I have to tell you that in all presidents that I happen to know personally, President Clinton, President Bush Sr., President Bush, then the younger, and President Obama, all of them, almost in every meeting that we have, they say the same thing. Knowing, they said, that you, the Orthodox people, are carriers of a tremendous classical tradition of democracy, human rights, science, philosophy, and at the same time of religion. We expect you to be instrumental in helping this American society of ours, this country of ours, to resolve even very difficult problems. You have the history, you have the experiences, please share what you have with this society here that is in need of the wisdom, the richness, the joy, the peace, and the dignity of the tradition that you carry. Thank you, and may God be always with all of you, leading you, to use the language of St. Paul, from glory to glory. Thank you. We have some gifts for the new bishop. The gift is a set of an engolpion and a cross, which, however, was delayed in arriving to us because of what happened in New York and some other things. It will come very soon, maybe within the week. But in the meantime, we give him something else, which is a nice and, I think, useful, very useful staff. The staff is very useful in walking and hitting. Sometimes human skulls need the sound and the hit.